For all of you who listen to Submersion and own an Android device, go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android device. I personally use the app and I love it. I can search for the podcast I want to listen to, select it as a favorite, and have it just a click away. Make sure to select Submersion as a favorite so you don't miss any of our new episodes. Again, the app is the Podcast Republic app, available on Android devices. Episode 71!
Woo! All right. We're trying to keep up. We're trying to keep up right now, guys.
We are.
And as a result...
We're rolling with a skeleton crew, man.
Yeah, as a result, it's a little bit of just a bony crew. Skeleton crew, boner crew up here.
Whoa.
What? Is that not right? You don't have a boner?
I guess. Oh. Maybe for episode 69, but not for this one.
That's true. This one wasn't as sexy as 69, and definitely not as sexy as 70, the Iron Man episode. But still pretty sexy.
There probably won't be as much trash talked about my golf game in this one, but hey, man, whatever.
Hey, I was complimenting your golf game in both episodes, I feel like.
You did.
Yeah,
you were like, well, I guess it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Patrick had to just be like, isn't that like 3 over every single time? Thanks, Patrick. What the hell, man? Just out there doing my best.
Yeah, welcome to Golfcast.
Yeah, Golfcast with the brain, the ointment, the grease, and the captain.
And so, just a skeleton crew. All the rest of the crew couldn't make it this time. They probably looked at the movie we're watching and were like, "No, thanks." They swiped. What would it be? Swipe left. I'm so old. Is it swipe left?
I'm old too, man. I have no idea.
I don't
know about the dating apps.
Yeah, right or
left. I know
left.
some people are like, "Oh, this." I'm like, you know what? If I was ever single again, I probably couldn't even do it.
Probably not. I'd probably die alone.
Yeah. I mean, but hey.
Well, we have each other in this podcast, so it's not so bad.
That's true. So are we really alone?
No,
because we have listeners. Thanks for listening, guys.
But no questions.
We have questions.
They never talk to us.
Be sure. we don't have any this week, but if you do have any, be sure to send them to our email, MackeySecondFloorStudios@gmail.com. Or hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you want. Reddit, I guess. We're even on there. So find us, or we'll find you. That's a promise.
Jesus. Yeah, but anything else going on? I guess not really, right? We're just kind of like cruising about in our submarine, doing our due diligence. There's a lot of news this week, and you'll get that upcoming. Just like a lot of submarine news. Submarines were everywhere. I feel like it was really popping this week. So it's an exciting little like a teaser for the rest of this episode.
Now, I know like we're always looking for sub news, but it feels like it ebbs and flows because out of nowhere, all of a sudden your news feed will just be inundated with all this sub stuff that's current, which is quite nice. But then even when we're looking for it, sometimes we can only find outdated stuff.
Not this week. This week, there's a shitload. All right. Shall we get into this? I guess I haven't heard any alarm for us having to dive, so. Dive!
What began as an innocent conversation among friends would soon spiral out of control and later be referred to by future generations as the eighth wonder of the modern world. Mac East Second Floor Studios takes you on the journey of your lifetime as your captains, Alex the Mustard Man, the artist formerly known as Brom, Jamie the Brain, Kyle El Capitan, and Zach the Backbone present Submersion. So for episode 71, I mean, I think it goes without saying that the last whole episode, quote unquote movie, I don't even know if you could really call it a movie, 69, definitely fell in lines with our WTF movie month.
Sure,
because what was that? We didn't really announce it.
I guess you just say it's art, but.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's a very artistic film. And we didn't announce it then, but of course, we're still in WTF movie month. And we're continuing with this till we move on to something next month. And again, listeners, if you got a specific month you want to hear, just hit us up. We'll figure it out.
I would suggest bad movies or bad action movies or bad sci-fi movies. Like really just like a wide variety of categories that you could choose from that you could recommend by sending us an email.
Yeah.
Or
Just
animated television shows.
Yeah, we're always on the lookout for those. We did even get a suggestion from one of our YouTube listeners about a Star Trek episode that is not necessarily a submarine, but it is based on a submarine movies that we've watched. So basically the same plot. We'll have to check it out and make sure it's worthy of this podcast.
Right.
And there's not a lot that's not, because, I mean, look at what we've been doing. So
look at the
whatever.
Case in point, the movie we're watching this week.
Yeah, anything's really worthy.
Yeah.
Jamie, what did we get to watch?
So I looked around and I was like, I want something fun this week. I want something with aliens. Maybe I want that alien like kissing up on someone and like being real weird and being like a really bad looking puppet. Like that'd be fun. And so I looked around and I found something that fit that to a T, and it's called Lords of the Deep, a Roger Corman production from 1989. So the same year as The Abyss, which it ripped off. It basically, I think they must have heard that, or a bunch of studios must have heard The Abyss was being made. Big production. You got Ed Harris, world, wide superstar. James Cameron, almost as famous as Ed Harris, teaming up to make The Abyss. They, in response, made a whole bunch of these types of films, one of them being Lords of the Deep, perhaps the smallest of them, I would think.
Yeah, I had never heard of this movie, and as soon as we got into it, I immediately just thought The Abyss. I mean, that's...
Right. It's the exact same plot, and you will see that. For sure.
It's, what are those movies we watched with, like, 2010 Moby Dick? Zach knew the name of the company.
Oh, The Asylum.
I mean, this is not as insane, but I feel like this is the type of thing they would do, try to rip off.
Yeah, so this is a slightly like the mockbusters that come out almost seem like a trick nowadays. They're more like a trick. Like you're trying to trick people into thinking that the movie is one thing. This isn't really a trick. It's not trying to pretend like it's The Abyss. It's not like it's called like The Abyss, but they spell abyss slightly differently or something. And you're like, what? Or the chasm? Or it's like the chasm.
Or just call it Abyss.
Right, yeah, or Abyss. And like trying to play off of that. This is different, Lords of the Deep, and I mean, I guess the plot is different, kind of, but it's just trying to rip off from the same thing, and so trying to satiate that the market, saturate the market with all the underwater laboratory films that the market is demanding at that point. Simple supply and demand.
Right. I mean, there's only... I'm sorry, I don't even know where I'm going with that. I mean,
well, the market was demanding. The market was demanding. Right, the market was demanding 4 or 5 underwater laboratory alien films, and the market said, "Yes, we will oblige that request." And
definitely.
That many. Yeah.
So this was released. You mentioned in 1989, directed by Mary Ann Fischer.
Yep.
Written by Howard Cohen, like you mentioned. I mean, basically, we just could have said this was written by the guy who wrote The Abyss, but whatever. It stars Bradford, Dillman, and
was
Priscilla.
Bradford Dillman the bad guy, kind of?
Dobler.
Dobler,
yeah.
I actually really liked him. He seemed like he was really into the role and would be into any role that you really wanted him to play.
Oh yeah, big time.
He almost seemed like a Shakespearean actor.
Yeah,
but
I could definitely see that because he was into it, man.
Yeah,
he loved it.
He was crushing. He was eating up that all the sets, the scenery, chewing up that scenery.
Yeah, he was. And our heroine, Priscilla Barnes, as Claire, the underwater scientist. She is fairly well known for her role in the show. I know my wife watches this. Jane the Virgin.
Oh, really?
She's in that. She's also been in Three's Company.
Right.
And The Devil's Rejects.
And we saw her, or no, I mentioned her before in a previous episode on the Three's Company line of thinking. I brought her up. Yeah.
So also this same year, 1989. She was in a little higher profile film. Do you know which one that was?
Kind of a crazy year for her because she was in one of the James Bond films.
Yeah, License to Kill.
Yeah, which also has a submarine in it, apparently.
Perfect.
That's what
All
it says.
right.
That's online claims. Although I guess I haven't, but you guys have watched films that claim it has submarines, and then all of a sudden there's no submarines to be seen. But
Well, in the cover art, it shows a semi truck being blown up by a single prop plane.
oh, so in that case, we know it has a submarine.
Yeah, I mean that's just a tall, one of a tell. That's what you would call it.
Yeah. All right, should we get into it?
I think we probably should.
Because this one didn't. There was no awards to mention, right? There's no Oscars or anything like that for Lords of the Deep, 1989.
This thing's rocking a 2.6 on IMDb, so I don't think it's really got many awards coming its way anytime soon.
It's pretty solid. All right, so we open and we get it kind of opens to set the stage of when we're talking about. What's funny is if we had just waited a little bit, we would have been at the same time at which this movie is set. Because what year is it set, Kyle?
It's set in 2020. And
even
guess
to the
what?
point where some of the events they mention as like setting the stage for this, they're like, in August 2019, he was on this certain mission or whatever. And I was like, wait, what? That's happening right now? That's crazy. Yeah.
And it's funny because some of it, could potentially, I pushed it a few years out and maybe this could be what's really going on. It starts with text. Actually, first off, it starts with all these shots of outer space and then like a galaxy spinning, and then it zooms in on the moon, and then the moon turns to the earth. And I was like, what? What is that? What's going on with this? But you immediately know aliens.
Aliens for sure, yeah.
Yeah. So the text reads, in the year 2020, man has used up and destroyed most of Earth's resources. Large corporations have begun to develop experimental undersea habitation in the hope of conquering a new frontier.
Not space.
And then that's space, man, for sure.
Yeah.
JK, it's underwater
space. Yeah, under space. Not outer space. Inner space. Wait.
Ooh.
Anyways.
And then we're immediately just brought onto a submarine, which, hey, I'm always game for that.
I was pretty happy because I was a little worried that we were going to have a Leviathan type situation where all of a sudden we'd be watching and be like, where's the submarine? And all of a sudden we realized that everything lied to us and there was no submarine at all. But we opened right on a submarine. It looked almost like it was a truck. Like some of the scenes when they were showing it underwater, I thought it was rolling on wheels on the bottom of the ocean, which it actually probably was. They probably had just filmed something that had wheels and then pretended it didn't have wheels. But they're kind of rolling along, and we find out that they are the replacement crew for the underwater lab, this kind of study lab to try to figure out how to build and live in and maintain a underwater civilization. And it's all done by companies. So it's not like the US government or something is running this whole thing. It's a company. What was the name of the company again? They kept on saying it, and they had it all in their clothes and stuff, but I'm forgetting.
Was it like Morbex? I can't remember.
Yeah, something started with an M for sure.
Yeah. But
so anyways,
I think it ended with an X.
Yeah. So anyways, what turns out to be the case is that Priscilla Barnes' character, who was Claire, the biologist, she has discovered a material on the bottom of the ocean that they're not really sure about, except, or are they? Question mark. Spoiler alert.
Maybe.
That it's prompted the company to send replacements, and everyone's kind of pissed about it. We also get a scene of Claire kind of touching this goo. Like we open almost immediately with her touching this goo.
Which makes no sense. All right. No. You've been in labs. I've taken chemistry up to organic chemistry and all that type of stuff. Right. And when you're working on something in a flask and you've got it all of a sudden in your beaker, and she just like ungloves. I think did she have a glove on?
Yeah, she did. Shook it off. Yeah.
Took it off, jams her hand in this.
Straight up. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like bare skin. What's going on? That's like 101. You don't do that.
Well, no, I don't know. Because if she took off her glove and then she put on some bearskin gloves, I think that'd be fine. Probably.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, bearskin gloves would have done it.
Right. That's what she said, though, right? Bearskin?
Yes, bearskin.
Yeah.
She had bearskin gloves on.
Thank you. Listeners, thank you. And so, yeah, she like touches this thing and it's really like bad scientific practice. She is writing down notes. I should say she had a lab notebook right there. Good protocol for the lab. I'm like, well, that's better than me. Like, you should see my notebook. It's not that great. And she says she's taking notes and stuff like that. And she touches it and she starts to have like what seems like hallucinations of basically
outer space
aliens talking to her, kind of. And almost immediately, I can't tell if like she became real weird by touching the goo or if she was always weird. Presumably she was always just kind of a little weird. She always seems like she's kind of smiling and she seems real. She almost seems like a little hippy dippy. Like she's like, isn't this great? Isn't this cool? And then she's got this boyfriend, O'Neill,
with an awesome mustache.
Straight up mustache. I thought originally that he was super Canadian. Turns out that it was kind of like a Southern accent he was trying to mask, and it made him sound Canadian. Because I had all kinds of listeners. I had all kinds of jokes lined up about how he was. Oh, I picked up some Tim Hortons, eh? Oh, eh? Right? And everyone would have laughed.
Those classics that you always
the classics, right? I got a bag of donuts from Tim Hortons, eh? And everyone would have laughed. Everyone would have loved it. You would have all been like, "This is great, classic." Submersion right here. Everything what I pay for this podcast, all the big bucks that we pay to listen to this thing. Yeah, this is what I want, but I can't do it anymore because it turns out he was born in Virginia.
What?
Yeah, not even a speck of Canadian.
And people in Virginia don't have hardcore Southern accents.
No, but he kind of had it sounded to me like he had like an accent or whatever. But
what
who
the
knows?
hell?
Maybe that was his character. Maybe he thought to himself when he read the script, he was like, "Who is my character?" And then he thought, you know what? I bet he's Canadian.
And I bet he has a mustache.
For sure.
Dude.
Anyways, that actor, I knew who that actor was, by the way.
Did you?
Because he wrote one of the Friday the 13th films.
Oh, seriously?
Not the actor, but not the character, but the actor. Yeah. He wrote the, he wrote the seventh one, I believe, which is actually a pretty good one. Yeah. It's the one with a telekinetic girl. He wrote that one. The new beginning or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a good one if you want one. Number 4 is the best one, I think. But
I've never seen any of them, to be honest.
It's a good series. Check it out. Friday the 13th. Welcome to Friday the 13th cast.
Yes.
Where we talk all things Friday the 13th. Season 12.
We got on over to our commander, and he's talking to is like a supercomputer back in the 80s, but trying to look futuristic.
Yeah, it's basically Hal.
Much like,
it's Hal from
Yeah, and if anybody's seen Maniac on Netflix with Jonah Hill and Emma Stone, it's similar to that computer that the guy loves, but obviously that one is much more flashy. Anyways, now the corporation, Mortrex or Morbo, whatever, calls down, and they want to know what on earth is going on, man.
Right.
Because
they got a crew
coming in. Yeah. Well, they got a crew coming in to replace everybody. And as we've seen, our crew members are not happy about it, man.
They're real pissed about it. It's kind of like not only some of them are okay with it, but a lot of the scientists are like, hey, we can do our job. Why are we being replaced? And other ones being like, this is kind of horseshit. You're not really instilling confidence in us in the company by replacing us early for what seems like arbitrary reasons.
Yeah.
So they're not really very happy.
We just see a little bit of that submarine going through an underwater canyon, and then all of a sudden alarms start going off like crazy.
Yeah. There's an earthquake. So a big old earthquake happens, and then they are kind of getting bumped around, and they're still in contact with the lab, but they lose contact just as they see something, and the whole crew is like, what the fuck is that?
Dun, dun, dun.
And then even the commander's like, we kind of saw something weird at the end there, right? Yeah. That's probably okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
And
it's what it is.
Yeah. So they decide, it's like the alarms have gone off. Everyone's like, is everyone okay? The Claire had got kind of bumped around and so like people are like checking on her. And in the meantime, the commander's like, hey, we need to send out a search party. We've also lost power. So one guy has to go out and you've got to fix that. So go out in like the frogman suit and take care of that. And the other one, you jump into the mini sub, which I was like, oh, taking out the only mini sub. Turns out there's like 3 goddamn mini subs, but they get in one of them. Yeah. And off he goes to go check on that, on the submersible that was bringing the people down. And so they go out. The one guy is out fixing. What's up?
Did you see this? They played rock, paper, scissors to see
Oh,
who was going to be in the suit and who was going to be driving the submersible. And in the weirdest turn of events I've seen in any movie, when they're throwing rock, paper, scissors, shoot, like doing that, they're like, apple, peaches, pumpkin pie.
That's right, yeah.
It's like, what?
It's a Canadian thing, man. Come on.
Is it? It's got to be.
You got to keep up. I have no idea. It's real weird, so probably.
Mhm.
I think we get introduced to a couple of, people are drinking because they're sad. We get the relationships going on. Claire and O'Neill, they're like smooching, and everyone's like, ooh, onboard romance. So they're kind of like smooching
buddy.
or whatever. And the person who's going out in the frogman suit and the other one who's going out in the submarine are like super best bros. They're like, see you, bro. Love you, bro. And off they go to do their job.
The bro stuff.
They're super bro. And so the submarine goes off, and he's kind of like, everything's running pretty smoothly. Don't worry about it. Hotshot submersible. But then all of a sudden he sees a fucking alien. First of all, he sees the submarine, I guess, and its hatch is open. And he's well, that's a little weird because we're on the bottom of the ocean. Like maybe the hatch should be closed. That's Submarines 101. Text that to the Indian Navy. AO.
Close
Topical.
that hatch.
And but then he sees an alien, and he's like, oh, this alien's on me. And the alien is all like up on the submarine, and he pulls a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and he's like, I'm going to shock the shit out of this alien. And he does it. He reroutes the stuff and shocks it. He's like, aren't I the best man? And the commander's like, you are pretty awesome. So you should probably get out of there, though. And he's like, well, I used up all my energy, shocking that alien. And then he looks out the window, and he's like, oh, shit. Because there's another one coming straight for him. And he's like, so I'm going to die, everyone. And then he does? ?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe not.
We'll have to see.
We don't know. So anyways, they lose contact, and the commander is getting increasingly flustered and frantic over these turns of events. Like, he is not particularly happy. He wanted to get people out of there ASAP, and everything seems to be going wrong in all the wrong ways, not the right ways.
Right.
Yeah. And then the guy who is fixing the power fixes it, and they're like, where is he? Like, this is weird, because we see him kind of like struggle a little bit, really bad effects, but he like seems to struggle a little bit. And they're like, where is he? And then they find him. Some alarms go off, and they find him at the moon, the little, what do they call him? The moon pool?
Moon pool?
Yeah. That goes outside, and he's kind of like laying there, and they open up his suit, and oh boy. This all happened to all of us, so we know the experience, but he's turned into a puddle of goo.
Completely liquefied.
Super embarrassing for him. He's like, oh boy, is my face would be red if I wasn't a pile of goo.
Yeah, pie in my face, right? Just a pile of goo over here.
Right. And so they're like, that's real gross. I would also be like, that's fucking strange. Let's get the hell out of here. I'm surprised they didn't all just hop in those two other mini submarines and get the hell out of there. Then, yeah, I would.
Well, even somebody was like, oh, there's not even any bones in here. It's like,
no, because he's a total goo alien at that point.
He is. He's totally liquefied. But also, during all this, during the initial earthquake, a flask fell on the floor in the lab, and it broke open, and some of that goo was all over. And then Claire went back later to clean up or something, and all the goo had formed back into like a little unit.
Yeah. So it's like alive. She's kind of like impressed by it. She's like actually kind of weirdly in love with it in some ways.
Yeah,
like
she is.
At this point, she's like, this is basically a living being. We can't harm it. Same thing with this goo in the thing. Like they're all like, that's gross. Like throw it in the trash chute because it's a pile. Basically, we have a bag of garbage here. How about we just like throw it out? And she's like, no. And the nurse on board is like, no. Like I got to do my job. And they're like, do your job. It's a pile of goo. Like so. What is your job? You are here to help human beings. Like this is not a human being; it's a pile of goo. So
because the medical officer wanted to do an autopsy on the goo, right?
Right, but it's like,
and
it's
she's
just
like,
goo.
"There's no bones. This is just goo."
Right.
Whatever.
And so then Claire, they put it into the like aquarium or whatever. They're like, oh, and it just looks like a piece of goo shit, kind of like floating there.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, look at that goo. And they come back later at one point, though, and it's got like big old alien eyes, and it's like floating around. Looks like a big stingray.
Yes, it does.
But like with a Loch Ness Monster face, I think.
And
kind of like a dinosaur face, Brontosaurus maybe?
Kind of. I mean, like a little bit. And I wish that progressed beyond this point, but this is about full maturity for the aliens. At least that we're going to see.
No, that's not true. It eventually transforms into a puppet.
Oh, very true. It does do that.
Yeah, and presumably someone's operating it from off screen because it looks like that.
Yeah, it really does. So anyways, the captain is basically like, hey guys, we got to just get out of here because this is totally screwed up. People are dying.
And he's like,
by the way, I want to
kill
that goo alien thing.
And get out of here.
Like, there's no way we can't do that. And other people are like, people are dying down here. We got to figure out what's going on. It's like,
and the captain's like, you settle down. And he pulls out his dick. He's like, who's the captain here? Who's the captain here? And they're like, whoa, man, like, calm down. Like,
yeah,
we're all fine. It's all fine. Okay, we'll figure this out together. And the commander's like, oh, will we? And he looks like real evil. And he's like chewing up the scenery. Looks like he's like in like a Shakespeare play, like just tearing down the scenery because he's going nuts. And it was great. I loved it.
Oh, yeah, dude. It was, he was losing it.
Yes.
But also during this time, because people have been dying, the captain, or maybe we're skipping around a little bit, but the captain is like, hey guys, we're gonna, HR wants us to sign a non-disclosure agreement,
right?
So we don't tell anybody about this. And people are like, no way, man, we got aliens down here, we got to tell everybody about it. He's like, you're never gonna work again.
Yeah.
Like,
it gets into like a weird like corporate drama at some point where I'm like, do we really need to know all these details? Also, it's so weird. Like people are dying, like literally turning into gooey messes in front of them.
People aren't in full on freak out mode. They're
relatively
calm.
They go to sleep. At one point, O'Neill and Claire are in bed together and and O'Neill's like, oh, hey, are we going to bone or what? And then she's like, yes. And then like kind of tricks him and is kind of like, but I'm a little tired. Ha ha ha. And she like chuckles at him. And O'Neill's like, oh boy, I thought I was going to get laid. And then because they go to bed.
Just get some snuggles.
Yeah. So then they snuggle up and go to bed. And I'm just like, would you really be able to sleep? Like first of all, you're supposed to be replaced.
Yeah.
That mini submarine got destroyed seemingly. And then 2 people died trying to
that you've been working down here in close proximity with for a long time.
Not only that, but an earthquake just happened. Everyone knows, and recent news would tell you, that after an earthquake, there are aftershocks, man. You should be a little more concerned for your safety.
Yeah.
Right? They should be, I would be like demanding that they call corporate right then and there. Just be like, they need to get a new submarine coming down right now.
Yeah. We are traumatized.
That was actually one thing. I guess that was something we did kind of skip over, which is the commander claims that they don't have communication up to the surface, but that's a lie. He actually can communicate with corporate.
He lied like a liar. Classic.
He is a giant liar. So
yeah. Also, during this, the non-disclosure discussion, the alien decides it's time to come out to play, and it just busts on out of the vat.
Yeah, it like smashes through the glass. It's loose, even though it looks like a stingray. Apparently, it can just kind of like clamber around. They claim it got into like the vents or the water supply, I guess.
Sure,
it did eventually, because it is like it is goo, but it just doesn't look like goo when it's a puppet.
And it shot up through one of the sinks, actually.
Yeah, and so anyways, they all decide to team up and find this thing, and they got these stupid looking laser weapons.
All right, yeah, they're like, all right, get the weapons. You think? I mean,
2020. So this is next year.
This should still look like a gun,
right? One would think.
Not like a little cattle prod that's going to shoot a laser out or whatever. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. It's not even that big. It looks kind of like a TV remote.
Yeah, they really should be mostly talking about like the upcoming election. Will Trump get reelected, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the middle of an election year and no one's talking about it. Come on, unrealistic. Ever heard of it?
Crazy.
Yeah, even the aliens would probably talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you hear what's going on? The investigation, is Russia going to meddle in the election? And people be like, what?
They're like,
events,
what?
Man, you got to bring it all back.
Yeah. Then the aliens are like, actually, we're going to meddle in the election. And they're like, whoa, alien meddling in the election? This movie just went off the hook.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy.
And then the alien gets elected president.
No way. You know why?
Yeah.
Because
Why?
they too are interested in mind control.
Oh, shit. All right.
Yeah.
Anyways. So anyways, they pair up, they go off and they're trying to find this thing and people start dropping like flies. And you're thinking alien probably killing some people or whatever. They kind of trick you. They make you kind of think that maybe the computer's turning a Hal and like is actually evil because you see a couple of the people get killed in this way. One gets trapped in a room and he's like, let me out of here. Oh, let me out of this room. But the computer won't let him out and then it eventually suffocates him. And then the nurse comes along and is like, oh shit, look, this guy got suffocated. And then again, the place closes up.
Dude,
and
it's like he's just whoring this move so much. It's like if you play Super Smash Brothers and you're like, all right, I only know this one move on this character. And he's like, I only know the drain all the oxygen from the room move. I'm going to use it again.
Yeah. And
it's
so
not,
then,
I mean, come on, dude. If you're going to be killing, I mean, how many people we got? Maybe 6, 7 tops. You got to get a little more creative in your killing rather than doing it the same way each time. I mean, it is effective, but does it make for a good movie?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then at one point, the commander even sends another guy out with the second mini sub to go and get the other mini sub and bring it back so then they can go to the surface. And it gets attacked. It does the exact same thing. Like the exact same sequence of events happens. He goes out there. He's like, oh shit. And there's an alien. And then he basically pisses his pants and the aliens take him. And that's the end of that. Him as well. So the commander's all alone at this point. His one lackey has been seemingly killed by these aliens. And then meanwhile, he's killing everyone. The only people left at this point are O'Neill, Claire. Is that it?
I think so. Yeah, because
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just them and the computer.
That's it.
But
and then also during a lot of this, people were talking about we need to examine the corpses. We need to examine them. The captain was adamant, we're not doing that. These things might be contaminated. Wink, wink. Right. But so that he's trying to run the show. Something's going on here. And Claire all of a sudden has
she gets
mind communication with the aliens.
She meets up with the alien. It smooches on her face, etc. And they have mind connection. And they actually start talking to her. They're like, hey, you have to go out in that mini submarine and find us. And she's like, okay. And she goes to O'Neill and is like, you got to distract him. I'm going out in this mini submarine. You got to help me. And so he does. She goes off in the mini submarine. We have this whole sequence where she goes off and she's basically like, oh, look at them. They're like dolphins. And follows them to this weird, almost I don't know what to say. It's
a biological docking station or something.
Yeah, it's like a womb, like a pink cave where she goes in. And then I couldn't tell whether these were ghosts, spooky ghosts or something. But all of a sudden, the dead people from the rest of the film is oh, hey, we're here and we're totally not dead. I'm like, you are doth protesting too much, I think. I mean, you don't usually if I someone, if I had been in a terrible accident and maybe someone thought I was dead, I wouldn't be like, oh, hey, it's me, totally not dead. I'd be like, isn't this fucking crazy right now? Our lives are crazy right now. Instead, he's like, hey, Claire, how's it going? And I'd just be like, you are an alien zombie or something. Get out of here. You're totally weird right now. Why are you being so weird? But he is. They're all being super weird.
They are.
Yeah.
And she walks out into some kind of bubble sphere and is able to see the underwater city that the aliens have built. And then,
it's
pretty
big.
much
There's a lot of them. Yeah. There's a lot of aliens. There's a big bits of giant city.
Then she basically is just like, all right, cool. I'm just going to head back to my underwater base.
So I think she wanted to make sure she got that. I mean, lady's got a bone, right? So she wants that boyfriend back in that cave as well.
Those were her words, actually.
This cave looks good for a little boning. I got to go back for O'Neill. And so she heads back. Meanwhile, people continue to die. O'Neill is basically the only one left. he's been trying to like figure out some stuff about the commander, and he finds some like pretty shady information about him back in 2019, in the far past of 2019, having been part of a particular mission. It was called Project Neptune, right? It's like the Neptune factor or whatever. And it has something to do that, like, they didn't disguise it very well. Basically, it has something to do with aliens, probably from Neptune. And they discovered this shit. And now that's kind of what the company was trying to like cover up, I think, or something.
Yeah.
They they set up this whole base in order to find and destroy these aliens. And so the main plan now is like find them and destroy them. But Claire's not really going to have any of that. So anyways, he gets in a little scuffle with the commander. The commander thinks he kills O'Neill, basically knocks him in the head, and is like, I totally owned you. And he looks at his laser gun. It's like, I could definitely double tap him right here, but no need, because I hit him and I have big old muscles. So no need to double check if he's dead. This is pretty good. We're in a good spot.
Yeah.
And so then Claire returns. There is like, what actually happens here? She's gotten some news that basically there's going to be like a 10, category 10 or a 10 Richter scale earthquake. So we're all going to die.
Directly underneath the base, which is going to be a problem. But she doesn't know that everybody's dead yet. No.
That's why she came back. She came back not just for her, fuck toy to bring back, but she wanted her other friends as well, not just the boyfriend. And so she got back and realizes everyone's dead. The commander's a total dick. Like, not cool, man, bro. How about you stop asphyxiating people, man? The computer is way basically listens only to the commander. So he pulls his MO. It's basically his only move, and basically like, I'm 100% asphyxiating you, so don't worry about it. So he sets it all up, asphyxiate them in hall number 2, and O'Neill's like, I'm going to turn this effing computer off and we're going to survive. And so he does heroic shit. He goes through the walls, finds his way over to the computer, gets into the thing. This is all while holding his breath. Basically, there's no air. And he starts pulling shit out of this computer and eventually disables it. Meanwhile, Claire, who's basically fainted from no air, gets approached by an alien, and the alien like helps her breathe.
Oh yeah, dude.
I think basically they like make out a whole bunch, and the alien in between makeout sessions kind of blows some air into her mouth. I think that's what happened, right?
Yeah, that's the same movie I was watching.
Right. I think that was pretty much what happened. It was almost exactly what we saw in episode 69 of Submersion.
Yeah, just a little less graphic.
Well, in that one also, someone was suffocating, and the other one was just trying to blow some air into their mouth, I think.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what I remember. Anyways, Claire survives with the help of the alien. O'Neill comes back, and they're smooching a whole bunch because they're like, hey, you saved me. And she's like, actually, kind of this alien saved me. And he's like, really? Okay. And then they still have the submersible, and they head off. And what happens to the commander? Does he...
Well, they make light work out of him, man.
Is that right?
Take down the final boss, yeah. And then basically we get a mind meld with the alien on their escape, and it's just basically like, hey, why don't you guys quit fucking up the Earth?
Right. Basically, it's exactly the end of The Abyss, where they're like, we came from a planet that died, and now you must stop fucking up your planet, or else you will die. And so if you don't, we will stop you. But you still have a chance starting now. And you're like, oh, wow, that's really impressive. And then they go back to the cave, and everyone that like died is there. And they're like, hey, we're 100% not dead. Wink, wink.
Yep.
But they are.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah. They're made of goo, and they actually just like 5 seconds later, they all splash into a big puddle.
Ooh.
Because they're actually dead.
Shapeshifters.
Exactly.
So that's the movie.
The end. Lords of the Deep.
Sounds like we made a lot of it up, but we
not
didn't.
To be confused with Lords of the Dance.
Ooh.
Very similar plot, though.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit more tap dancing and
Lords
pipe
of the Deep
music.
Yeah, Lords of the Deep is way more pipe music and tap dancing. Lords of the Dance, it's like only 80% of it. I think. Actually, I don't know. Do they talk during that, or is it all pipe music and tap dancing in Lords of the Dance?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Probably. Basically all my knowledge is from those commercials. So
time to look it up right now. Let these listeners know.
Let's see. Hopefully they have a Vegas residency. Maybe I can go see them. All right. So we get some ratings.
We should do it, man. We should get some ratings.
I want to hear yours first. I want you.
So immediately, as we've already mentioned multiple times in the recap, when I started watching this, immediately, it just looks like The Abyss.
Yes.
The underwater
it looks
base.
It looks exactly like The Abyss.
No,
it's the exact same level of quality as The Abyss.
Does not look exactly. This looks like a ripoff of The Abyss. Sorry.
Because he said that.
The underwater base looks very similar to what they were using in The Abyss. The budget obviously is much less because they didn't have our boy Ed Harris.
True.
Something that I did appreciate though is that while they didn't have the budget, obviously they went with like the futuristic route, so that way you're not necessarily confined to like a normal size submarine. You can make it a little bit bigger, just put some blinking lights or whatever on the set and be like, oh, okay, maybe it's futuristic. I don't know. Maybe that's what we're going to have in 2020. And maybe we will. We don't know. We're not there yet. But the effects, everything else, not super great. The alien, when it was behind the glass wall, the vat looked acceptable, I guess.
I mean, yeah, in the sense that it was basically looked like a piñata. Like it's the same quality as a piñata. It hung from the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. And it just kind of floated there. And you're like, oh, okay, it's floating in a vat. And they can kind of mask it.
When you buy a piñata and you squint at it and you're like, yeah, I guess it's George Washington, sure.
Yeah, it looks just like him. But then when it broke through and it was running around and we saw it all the time, it was like, this does not look good. Something that I was surprised by that I thought actually looked decent was the underwater city. Like when she stepped out in that bubble and she saw all the other city, I was like, okay, this is where they spent their money on the effects, is creating this split-second scene.
I think it was a painting.
Is that what it was?
I think so, yeah. A lot of those older films, like if you watch The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, they have these very impressive scenes of them coming over a ridge and they see the spaceship buried in the snow of Antarctica. It's a painting. Someone painted it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what we got going on here.
I think probably, yeah.
But other than that, I mean, another positive for this movie. It was short. It was an hour, 17 minutes.
It was one of the shortest films I've ever watched. It's like 70, what was it, 76 minutes long?
Something like that.
It was amazing. Actually, I watched it and I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to watch this movie. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I'll do, this, and this, like a couple things around the house. And she finished those things, which really didn't take that long to do at all. And I was like, oh, I'm done with my movie now. And she was like, wait, for real? Like, you're actually done watching the entire movie? I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm actually done watching the entire movie. That is one benefit and something to the listeners to be like, if you just want something that's like real silly with aliens and it's only 76 minutes long, it's basically like watching a long episode of television.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And not necessarily good television, but
very silly television, I guess.
Yeah. The acting was not horrible.
Sure.
We've seen some really bad stuff. We have.
No, that's true. And I do think the commander, I actually thought he really dove into it, which isn't necessarily going to happen. I guess it's kind of like 2010 Moby Dick, where what's his name?
Barry Bostwick.
Barry Bostwick really was like tearing down the set. And you're like, whoa, this is somewhat similar in that regard, in that at the very least you could appreciate what he was bringing to the table.
Yeah.
In the end. Yeah.
Yeah. But the writing could have been better. It could have been more different than The Abyss. Perhaps maybe done its own thing. That probably would have been fine. But this is, all intents and purposes, just a ripoff of a much better film. If you want the short version, go with this.
It's like one third the length of the Abyss.
Yeah. If you want the good one, you go to the Abyss. Same year. I mean, it's ridiculous when you think that's made in the same year, and just the effects are so much better in the Abyss versus this.
It's gonna come up. It's gonna come up in my trivia. But how long do you think it took to shoot this film?
To shoot this film?
Yeah.
Man, I hope it was only like 6 days.
It's not. It's longer than that. But
okay. Well,
not that much longer.
Oh, okay. But I mean, not the worst thing we've seen. Certainly not the best. But I didn't find myself just absolutely hating every moment of my life while it was on, like I have with some of them. But I'm going to go ahead and give it like a 2.85.
Wow, I was going to land pretty much the same. I was going to say that this ended up being, for me, I think there's some occasionally funny stuff in it. I thought the Canadian boyfriend was funny because his accent was funny. He had this like baller mustache going on, like real 80s stuff going on. It was pretty good.
It was a good mustache.
Yeah. And then like just such a silly ripoff of a million different things. Like you have basically Hal from 2001. You have the Abyss in the entire plot. You have, kind of a little bit of Alien going on there, a little bit of other stuff going on there, all kinds of like very in vogue, futuristic, destroying the planet, environmentalism kind of stuff. So, I kind of lost my train of thought as I was saying this, but overall, it wasn't so bad. I mean, it had kind of these things that kept my attention a little bit. So certainly not like the worst thing ever. Very short. Actually, I'm glad you brought up that point because I forgot just how short it was until you mentioned it. It is maybe the shortest, other than the TV shows we've watched. It may be the shortest movie we've watched for this.
Yes,
very well might be.
I think it is.
Probably like 2010 Moby Dick, longer than this. Make of that what you will. So I don't know. I was going to come in around a 3, 2.5, 3. I guess I'll land at, I'm going to do 2.5.
2.5?
2.5. Yeah, 2.5.
God, I'm the high one on that, huh?
Which is pretty good when you consider it's got like a 2.6 IMDb.
Right. That's true.
Like you've
got the crazies who are like, oh, this is the best thing that's ever been made. 10, just love the whatever. Then you got the other people who are just 0 and more so the zeros. But
I actually I guess I'm a little surprised. I guess it's because it's always got the comparisons, right? Of all of the undersea sci-fi stuff that came out around this time, this is probably considered the worst of them.
Well, yeah. Think about the stuff that we've just watched. I know we didn't even do this one for the podcast, but Leviathan.
I didn't watch that one. So how was that in comparison?
It's infinitely better than this, and it's got like its own storyline, which is nice.
Right.
The Abyss, which obviously you've mentioned a bunch of times because that's what this movie is.
The Rift is kind of on a similar level, but slightly better. I mean, it's definitely higher quality. I mean, like a slightly higher quality, but it's very similar is the Rift. And then something like Deep Star,
I think, like with the storyline stuff, we all thought we were all very blown away. We were shocked because we expected probably this movie,
right? Yeah,
for that, and we're like, that was actually pretty okay.
It was fun, and it had some fun special effects and stuff. That's I guess kind of the one big difference is this one. When I kind of was like scoping it out as potentially doing it for the podcast, seeing the stupid puppet, like the stupid looking alien puppets, I was like, yeah, I'm in. But whereas with the Rift, there was actually a lot more like fun visuals rather than kind of stupid, funny visuals from this one. And then you have something like Deep Star. The only one I think could potentially contest with this would be something like Deep Star, which is a better quality film. But the parts of it that I've seen in the past have been incredibly boring. And who knows, maybe it kind of like cranks up later on. But that's the only way that I think one of the other knockoffs of The Abyss could potentially contend with this in terms of like the low quality is if it actually just turned out to be straight up boring and you didn't like watching it.
Oh, yeah. So
Deep Star, we got to hold out for Deep Star because that one does have submarines, a bunch of submarines. So we can watch
that. I thought that was more just underwater base. Are there subs in it, though?
I believe so, and I can double check that, but I'm almost positive that I'm pretty sure the main character is even a submersible, like, pilot.
Awesome. Well, then I know we've got it. We just haven't watched it yet.
Right. All right, shall I get into some trivia?
Yes, you should.
This first one is actually pretty interesting for the kind of the idea of the podcast. This film is one of 6 movies featured in season 12 of Mystery Science Theater 3000. So technically speaking, we could watch that episode
of Mystery Science
Theater 3000. Yeah. So
I guess we found next week's episode, huh?
Right. All right, and then this is really funny. There's a bunch of Oscar winners who were associated with this film. So, 2-time Academy Award winner Janusz Kaminski. Do you know who that is?
I do not.
Janusz Kaminski. So he served as director of photography on the second unit crew for about 2 weeks of the 4-week shooting schedule. So it was
4 weeks.
The entire thing was 4 weeks. Yep. It was supposed to be one of his first movies as director of photography. According to a crew member, it was just too good, his footage, and didn't match with the first unit. So they had to take him off of the job
because he was too good.
Yeah, so he went uncredited as a result, but you can tell that they ended up using some of his shots because there's some actually some really good like spooky images here and there, and those are the pieces that he did. And so he's well known as a frequent collaborator of Spielberg. That's where he's won his Oscars. He did direct one major feature film in his career, and it's called Lost Souls. It was made in 2000. Do you know anything about this film?
I do not.
It's kind of like a teen horror, is what I recall from it, and it garnered a solid 8% on Rotten Tomatoes, and he didn't direct any other major feature films, just that one.
8%?
Yeah, it's one of the worst reviewed films of the 2000s.
Wow.
Yeah, so he did one shot at directing, seemed to not like it, didn't make something that was particularly good, and that's the only time he tried it. Now he continues to be a very, very prominent director of photography.
Okay.
Or a cinematographer, I think. So then another double Oscar winner for Aliens and Terminator 2, Robert Skotak, along with his brother Dennis, created the underwater visual effects for the film. When asked by the crew member why he chose to work in such a low-budget film, Skotak said, "It's 4 weeks paid work, and on a Roger Corman movie, you get to work with people on their way up and people on their way down."
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is that you talk about those underwater footage. Producer Roger Corman reused all of the underwater shots and effects for Unknown Origin, aka The Alien Within, which he made in 1994. So we should look into that one, because if they used all the underwater shots, guess what's in there? Aliens. And guess what else is in there? Submarines. All right, so most of the characters were named after members of the New York Mets baseball team. That's just one of the trivia that I thought was kind of interesting.
The aliens are?
No, most of the charters.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Must have caught the aliens. I'm like, I don't remember them naming any aliens
at all. Did you remember the alien, Sandy Koufax? No, sorry, he was a Dodgers player, wasn't he? Sandy Koufax? Damn it. Well, who's a Mets player? Seaver. There we go.
There you
Seaver.
go.
Yeah. Dale Strawberry. Wasn't he one? Anyways, this is a Roger Corman film. He's well known for his many low-budget horror sci-fi fantasy films, which he produced over the years. He's also known for giving many of the biggest names in film early credits. So, and I'm going to do this a little differently.
Okay.
If you could have one of these other major film directors who also worked on a Corman film early in their career come in and remake this film,
yeah,
who would you choose? Okay. Here I'm going to start. What would you think of Francis Ford Coppola, who worked on Battle Beyond the Sun and obviously is very well known for The Godfather?
Well, obviously he's Nick Cage's uncle, so I think we would get some Nick Cage in here.
Oh, I would love him as the commander.
Yeah,
Commander Nick Cage.
that crazy edge that I think would really help elevate this.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say, we'll use him.
Are you going to give me a list? You going to give me a list?
Yeah, I'm going to give a list. But so let's say Francis Ford Coppola, he's hired, but not necessarily as director, but just to get his nephew in to be the commander. Okay.
Good.
What about Joe Dante, who worked on Hollywood Boulevard? And you would know him as the director of Gremlins.
Ooh. Good effects in Gremlins.
Exactly. So maybe we bring him in to do some monster work. How about that one?
Yeah.
Okay, what about Jonathan Demme? He did Angels Hard as They Come, which is a really weird name for a film.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I don't know.
Are there any other films?
So Jonathan Demme, very well known for adapting Stephen King films like Shawshank Redemption and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
I believe. Right. I think that's him.
Yeah, all right. But that level is just so far above this. I mean,
I don't know. I feel like we bring him in to bring some of that Stephen King little like magic. It's kind of like the fantasy that goes along with the horror. So it's we're turning it with Gremlins with Joe Dante. We're turning it into more of a horror film, and Jonathan Demme comes in to bring a little of that magic, that fantasy to that horror.
And we've got Nick Cage because of Coppola.
Right. And then we have, what about Ron Howard, who made Grand Theft Auto with Corman? And obviously we know him. He's like A Beautiful Mind, Apollo 13, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Ron Howard's good. I mean, he's really good.
So you're thinking maybe director Ron Howard?
I think Ron Howard would direct this.
Okay. What about Martin Scorsese? He did Boxcar Bertha with Roger Corman. Obviously, Martin Scorsese. Best known for, I don't know.
The Departed?
Maybe. I mean, that was the one he won the Oscar for.
Yeah. He's done a lot.
Yeah. What was the one that everyone says he should have won the Oscar for? I don't know. Slipping my mind.
Snakes on a Plane?
Obviously, yeah. That's the one he drew. Martin Scorsese's Snakes on a Plane. That's right.
Starring Samuel Jackson. That would be amazing. Oh, but dude, we already got such a star-studded... So
you say you're just jettisoning Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
You're like,
sorry,
get out of
bud.
here, Martin.
We're too busy.
Marty, go back to teaching or something because we don't need you.
You're going to be trying to just, you got a master class you got to work on or whatever it is that he's doing online now.
Right. What about James Cameron? He did Battle Beyond the Stars. And weirdly, he then he made the film that just ripped off. He made The Abyss.
So I think...
That's got to do the underwater, right?
Basically, he's already done this.
Right, but he makes the underwater
much better
footage.
Scale.
Yeah, so he makes the underwater footage. Now we got it all filled out, right? We got our main actor Nick Cage crushing things. We got great monster work. We got like a little Stephen King magic in there. We got Ron Howard directing. We got underwater footage from James Cameron. Martin Scorsese's teaching the online course about the film, so that helps kind of like promote it, I guess. Good. And then finally, and of course, Ed Harris. Ooh. And he starred in a Corman film. It was called Space Angels. And so, do you want to hear the plot, or do you just want to skip it?
Obviously, I want to hear the plot.
Oh, okay. So, because it's a lesser known film, so you may not know the plot already.
Oh, okay.
So, in it, a bunch of space pirates take over a space tanker, and they want to get rid of the crew, but they see Ed Harris. He's like one of the crew, and they're like, "Except him, he's staying." And so he's like, "Come with us." And then Ed teaches the pirates how to live and love again, right? Like they kind of lost that in their pirating. So they learn to live and love again. And so they decide to give it up and become entrepreneurs. They want a complete career change and they want to like kind of figure out what they want to do next with their lives. Mm-hmm. And they hear a rumor that an evil land developer is trying to take down the local grease factory, right? And they're like, whoa, let's put on a bikini car wash and we're going to raise enough money so that the factory can survive. And they do a series of sexy hijinks. They succeed. Yeah. It's considered one of the greatest films ever made, actually.
Space Angels.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm surprised at some point in that film that Ed doesn't reprise his role with the jorts and the mesh tank top and punish those dweebs. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, you've seen this? Because that happens in the film.
That happens?
He goes around and he basically like, let's punish the dweebs. That's his catchphrase.
Those the sexy hijinks? Is that what it is? Ed in the mesh tank top?
Well, yeah. I mean, yes. Yeah. Obviously. I mean, most of it's a bikini car wash. So it's like a bunch of sexy ladies. I put on my glasses. I like push them up on my nose. I got to make sure I am like seeing like perfectly clear. And I'm like, interesting. And then Harris comes in with his jorts and his tank top, and he's going around just like punishing dweebs. So,
dude, now imagine this. Imagine Ed Harris as the commander, and then we have Nick Cage as the boyfriend.
Oh, he's got a mustache. Bring back that mustache. I want Nick Cage with a mustache.
It could work.
Now. Who's the leading lady, though?
Oh, I don't know. From 89?
Someone who goes with a lean, cut, young Nick Cage. Who's our leading lady? Who's he got the most on-screen chemistry with our boy Nicolas Cage? Feeling like Holly Hunter?
Yeah, maybe.
Great. Laura Dern? How about that one?
Glenn Close.
Nice. All right. Should I do a little Phantom Zone?
Yeah.
Do you have a soundboard?
I guess I got to do that thing for you now, don't I?
You know, I mean, you don't have to. You can just choose not to do it.
I have got to do it.
Engage the Phantom.
Phantoms engaged, sir.
All right, I'm going to keep it pretty simple because it's pretty funny how easy this all is. It's funny. When I looked it up, John Lafayette, he played the shuttle commander in the beginning that ends up going missing immediately during that earthquake. And it's weird, though, because none of that crew seems to show up at the end when the aliens are they're all alive. Apparently the aliens did kill those people because they didn't care about them or whatever.
You guys suck. You don't know what's going on down here. You're out.
But you may recognize them as Commander Creighton in a little movie called Crash Dive, starring Michael Dudikoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we know we can go from there. I did want to also mention that the main star, Priscilla Barnes, was in License to Kill the same year. Apparently has a submarine, so I could have used that as a starting point, but I did not. And additionally, Roy Nyram somehow worked on both this and The Abyss in the same year.
What?
But in different, he did makeup, special effects, and visual effects for the two different films.
Are you serious?
He worked in the original film, and then he jumped and worked on this film afterwards.
And obviously did some pretty D-level work on this one.
Right, and he was probably he was just sad because he was missing his best friend, Ed Harris.
Yeah.
It's he just worked with Eddie for probably months and months in a tank, suffocating, almost dying. And then
punching the director.
Yeah, jumps over to a 4-week, whatever film where he throws some makeup on some people or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is quite the turn of events for that person in their life.
Yep. So that's it. That's all I got for Phantom Zone.
That's it, man?
That's all I got. You want me to do more?
No, it's good, man. It's fast. Alrighty. It's time.
Especially since
it's worldwide. Alrighty, now we've mentioned...
I almost stomped all over that intro because I was going to say we've somehow recorded for 3 hours now with only 2 people. So we just keep it going and going.
Incredible. Yeah. So anyway, as we've seen in a lot of the movies, there are underwater bases. They're very popular. Movies that we've mentioned already, The Abyss, The Rift, this one, Leviathan has one, The Meg, and Dark Descent are movies that we've all watched that feature an underwater base. And so I figured, what the heck, man? We all know about subs and all that type of stuff, but are there actually any underwater bases? Turns out there are. So I thought it'd be pretty interesting to talk about them because there's one actually that is planned right now. There's a lot of speculation about what is going on with this. So it's recently been, I guess, announced, uncovered, whatever it is, that China is working on an underwater base. Now, they claim that this is for research, mapping the ocean floor, looking for rare minerals, natural gas deposits, oil, etc., etc. Other people think that it might not be. There could be a little more nefarious plans at play because it is supposedly going to be located in a semi-strategic location. However, they plan on putting this thing 2 miles down, very deep. And there's some articles that it's kind of had changing plans as it's been going on. Originally, this was going to house people, from what I read, 2 miles down. I can't imagine what the pressure would be like or what you would need to build structurally to make that feasible, livable situation. But then they finally said, hold on, that's crazy. We're not going to be doing that. So instead, they're basically going to use this base to capture microorganisms as they pass by, and they can run samples on them. And then they're also going to send out remote underwater unmanned vehicles that will go around, do the mapping, do all their stuff. They will come back to base to recharge their batteries, send data up to the surface.
That doesn't sound as cool, though.
I know, right? It'd be crazy to be like, I lived 2 miles underwater for 6 months.
They should let one person be down there.
Oh, that'd be rough. But I mean, like trying to get supplies down there, because the subs, at least all the subs that we've talked about, big ones that you would need to take supplies down there, can't go that deep. The only things you could really do are like the submersibles that go down, Challenger deep and that type of stuff.
Elevator,
there you go.
Escalator. How about that one?
Oh, what about one of those like mail tubes, where you shoot the thing up in it?
Yeah, just constantly going.
Yeah. Send me a cheeseburger.
Exactly, yeah. You just have like a little phone where you're like, can you send me some ice cream? And then it comes through the thing, it's all melted, and you're like, God damn it.
It's the worst.
God, it takes like 2 hours for this thing to go. Shit.
I wonder how long that would take, actually, for something to fall under.
Well, no, I actually think you can get it going pretty fast, right? If it was all frictionless, like shot by air kind of stuff. Yeah. I think they probably could get it down pretty quickly.
But you'd have to be able to stop it with a soft impact.
That's true, because the ice cream, you don't want it to splatter everywhere.
Yeah. That'd be a mess.
Welcome to Ice Cream Cast.
Ice Cream Cast. That's all I got, man.
Wow.
I know, it's short and sweet, but there's underwater bases being built, guys. Something we gotta take note of.
Yeah. Was there Sea Lab, or am I thinking of a TV show? Was that a real thing?
You are very correct. There was a Sea Lab actually called Sea Lab. That was more of a underwater research facility. Well, I guess this is now an underwater research facility, but that was, scientific type stuff. And that, I want to say, was operated by Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute in the U.S.
Right across the small bay from where I grew up.
Oh, man.
Woods Hole, 2 miles from Martha's Vineyard.
Really?
Yeah, that's where the boat that goes between Martha's Vineyard and the mainland stops, is Woods Hole.
Dude, you had all this type of sub potential as a kid, and you probably just
right there.
Squandered it.
You could see the research boats when you land on the ferry boat.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Do you want me to do something real quick to finish this up?
Let's do it, man.
I got a big old lineup of different, kind of submarine-related news. So it's almost like a top 5. It's almost like a Brom classic top 5 mixed with a Mustard Man, news. Mixed with Zach facts, because you never know if any of them are real. Spoiler alert, they all are real.
Ooh.
Because they're news.
Because they're facts.
Yeah, they are actually facts, though. Unlike
all right, man. Take it away.
Should I do it? All right, so we got one from military.com. It says female enlisted sailors can now apply for submarine duty year-round. So apparently the Navy took another step towards the goal of filling 20% of all submarine jobs with women by announcing.
Okay, so they were allowed to be on before, but now it can be year-round. That wasn't a thing before?
Yeah, so female enlisted sailors can now apply to move into one of the 11 non-nuclear ratings on a rolling basis. Enlisted women were previously limited to applying to serve on specific submarines during set application windows.
Huh.
Yeah, but I think they're talking about enlisted. I don't know. I don't think there's a difference, whether there's a difference or not between enlisted and other, levels or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they receive a woman in the rank of E6 or below, as they're saying.
Interesting. Well, hey.
Yeah. Kind of
goes to 20. They want to have 20% of the subforce female.
That's what they say. Yeah, 20%.
All right. Start signing up, ladies.
So that was number 5. Number 4 on our list of different news going on, we have one of 2 deaths in the news. Sad news. David Hedison, and this is the headline from New York Times. David Hedison, actor who found fame in a submarine, dies at 92. And even the picture that they have right there is of him on a submarine set, and he played the straight-laced captain of the submarine on Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. It was his star-making role. So he had been in a whole bunch of stuff, but this is really what he ended up being known for. And you could say that he actually was in like James Bond films. He played, opposite James Bond, 2 different James Bonds. So Live and Let Die with Roger Moore and License to Kill starring Timothy Dalton. He played Felix Leiter in both of those. But yeah, he kind of found most of his fame from being on voyage to the bottom of the sea.
On the television series or the movie?
Television series.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So that was number
Rest in peace, man.
4. Number 3, one of our favorites, Rutger Hauer. So he was Blade Runner co-star, but also we saw him in, what was that one called? I'm forgetting the name. Wasn't he Rutger Hauer? He was in a submarine film, but he's also famous for turning down the main role of Das Boot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was supposed to be in Das Boot, but if he had been in Das Boot, he wouldn't have been able to be in Blade Runner. So he kind of had to make a choice. He ended up choosing, obviously, Blade Runner, and I think it kind of worked out overall for everyone involved because he found fame doing that, and Das Boot was still amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
So no need to rewrite history. He's pretty much, I think everything kind of worked out how it needed to be.
Yeah.
And then big news a couple days ago. This is number 2. French submarine that vanished in 1968 is found in the Mediterranean. So every once in a while, it actually happens with startling regularity of these submarines being found that have been lost for years and years and years. I feel like it's been happening like way more recently, and perhaps it's with the new search techniques and new technology and stuff like that that they're able to do this. But I feel like there's been like, I don't know, like 10 in the last year or something, where you remember there was like a World War I submarine found and a World War II submarine found. And I feel like they're being found at like such a high rate right now. But anyways,
and I think you just answered it kind of. It's with the new technology, because if you look at basically these underwater drones you can send out, you can go so much deeper than we've been able to before, and you can use cameras and all types of stuff and look at them. So I think that's got to really help.
This one actually, I think, kind of explains it. The wreckage was found by a Norwegian-flagged research vessel, Seabed Constructor, 28 miles from the southern French port city of Toulon, about 7,800 feet underwater. The Seabed Constructor, operated by the American ocean mapping company Ocean Infinity, is the same craft that in November found the San Juan submarine that had gone missing in 2017 off Argentina. So
No kidding.
It does
They're doing
seem
pretty
like
decent, huh?
It seems like this kind of new technology, this research vessel, Seabed Constructor, is doing, ocean mapping that allows them to kind of pick up, probably with those drones you're talking about, kind of figure out where anomalies are and figure out where things perhaps have sunk.
Ooh. Well, I imagine they're going to be finding quite a bit of stuff.
So anyways, I do want to say this submarine, it was called the Minerve. The Minerve.
Minerves.
And then, finally, a couple weeks ago, the official American release of Kursk, The Last Mission. It debuted last year at Toronto International Film Festival. It's been out in Europe and stuff like that, but it started to get like its American reviews. I don't think it had a very large release here, and I'm sure we'll see it on some streaming service in the near future. But as a result, they went through this is THN, or the Hollywood News. They went through 5 of the best submarine movies. So they had a countdown of their best submarine movies. They talk about Kursk, The Last Mission. They let it off with that. They said it's well worth checking out, even though it is harrowing to watch. Then they had The Hunt for Red October, and they said it's a taut thriller from John McTiernan, who was riding the wave of success following Predator and Die Hard. And then we have Crimson Tide. It said certainly one of Tony Scott's finest action movies. Period. See it. Period. That's what they say.
Wow.
Das Boot. If you've not seen this genuine classic from nearly 40 years ago, bump it to the top of your lists right now.
That's what they say?
That's what they say.
Dude, they need to, man.
The last one that they mentioned, K-19, The Widowmaker. And they say the crew. Yep. That's what they say.
That's the one, huh?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. And they say, what else? What do they actually say about it? They say, early in the article, regards to playing that, blah, blah, blah. It's a fairly decent submarine movie. So and it doesn't sound like not a ringing endorsement.
Say?
That's what they say, fairly decent.
These are the 5 best. Oh, it's fairly decent.
They say fairly decent. And also,
I can't believe they wouldn't put like Run Silent, Run Deep or something.
I know. Yeah, it's weird. It's all like the recent ones. Basically, it's all the biggest recent submarine films.
It's probably the only ones they could think of.
Probably because they're lame. They're not like us.
I know.
we'd be like, which one would we do? We'd be like, Incredible Mr. Limpet, duh.
Yeah.
Pop that to the top of your list.
Ever seen it?
Ever seen it? It's got a fish, and that fish is actually has a human brain, and it fucks other fish. So, you know what you're getting into there.
Yeah. Voiced by the famous Don Knotts. People are like, what?
And they're like, Michael Dudikoff. Crash Dive.
Yeah.
Crash Dive 2. And everyone would be like, this list is crazy.
Yeah.
These are made by crazy people.
They are. But
so that's it.
For
that's
any of our listeners, you also can see we do have on IMDb, we do maintain a list of all the movies that we watch. If you want to follow along and watch everything that we've watched, you can relive Submersion.
Yeah.
In your living room.
I do want to mention, I couldn't think of the name at the time. Hostile Waters. That's the Rutger Hauer film that we watched. Hostile Waters.
Yes, that is the one. And if I remember correctly, what was the Zach facts? It was like that the fire was not scripted.
Sure.
Oh, it's too good.
That wasn't the one where it ended with the people kind of the American ship saving them and then seeing them in a prison or whatever. No, never mind. This was the one that took place during the Cold War. Yeah.
There's so many there, but what is that one?
This is the one where he
visits him in prison camp. What is that
but this
one?
This is the one where Rutger Hauer zoomed away with on a motorcycle at the end. And I was like, yeah, he just wanted to get the fuck out of there. I forgot what that one was. That was such a weird one. I hated that one. So when one with the ghost wife, I think it was called Ghost Wife.
Oh, Ghost Wife. That's a good one.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Submersion. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every Thursday. If you like what you heard, please leave us a rating on iTunes. Lords of the Deep.